Hello everybody and welcome to the United Stand. This is our Burnley versus Manchester United live preview, and we'll also be taking some of your comments as well. We're talking about how Manchester United are going to beat Burnley, how Burnley will set up for this game, formation prediction and all that. But Jose Mourinho, let's be totally honest, Jose Mourinho is probably closer to the job centre than Theresa May's dance coach at the moment. This is about as close as he's ever been to the sack for Manchester United, and some people think that's hyperbole nonsense, sensationalist, and some people think it's a reality. Personally, I have a theory. I normally do, but I do think that if Mourinho loses against Burnley, he's gone. He is gone. You can't lose 3 Premier League games out of 4. You can't lose 3 Premier League games in a row at the start of the season like that. And losing to Burnley, to me, would be a massive indicator that he's lost the players. So Jose Mourinho loses this game to Burnley. I don't think we see him after the international break. I think he's gone. And maybe that excites some fans. Maybe people who want Mourinho out are thinking, ooh, you know what? Because, before the Tottenham game, we had people saying, well, if I knew we'd lose to Spurs, he'd get the sack, I'll take the loss against Spurs. I don't think that was ever going to happen. I think if we lose to Burnley, he's gone. He's finished, because it would be horrendous for that to happen. Conversely, I don't think we're going to lose to Burnley. So I think, yes, Jose Mourinho his job is on the line. He would be sacked if he lost this game. I firmly believe that. You may disagree. But I don't think we're going to lose this game to Burnley. I think we're going to win it. I think we'll win it maybe it'll be a typical 1-0. But I think we might win it 2 or 3, because I think Burnley have had a very, very difficult start to the season. Out of the Europa League now, of course. But last week, I think they were 3-0 down against Fulham away within the first half an hour, having played the Europa League on the Thursday. So I think Burnley have had a disjointed start to the season. They've not fell into their groove yet. I'm sure they will do at some point. And I think United should be able to catch them a little bit cold when we desperately need to bounce back and get a result after what happened against Spurs and Brighton. So I think United will be okay. But I do agree. I don't know what people in the live comment thinks. I do agree that we are he is in that situation where he's probably as close to the sack that he's ever been. Now, I did the Mourinho press conference earlier, so I'm not going to pull stuff from that. If you want to see my reaction and everyone else's reaction to Mourinho's press conference, then get on, watch that if you've been at work today. Very interesting things said by Mourinho in relation to that. Bigging himself up again, but that's by the by, that's for him to do, isn't it? But just before we start talking about Burnley and everything, I want to just go with what I think the team will be against Burnley. And obviously De Gea in goal, no problems with that. Valencia. Now, I think what's going to happen with the back four is that Phil Jones probably won't be fit. So I think Eric Bailly will come in centrally. I think he'll move Smalling to the left. And I do believe that he will retain Ander Herrera in that midfield area, in that back three. I do think that we are going to see the 3-5-2. Because we saw it obviously against Spurs. We've never really seen it at home. And I do think we'll see it away from home, because I think it's Manchester United, whether it's the first half against Spurs or Arsenal-Watford last season away from home in November, our best football has come when we've played the 3-5-2. So, I mean, Archie says Jose will get till Christmas minimum. I think, Archie, what you're doing is you're predicting that we're going to win a few, maybe lost one there and there. If he loses tomorrow, if he loses on Sunday, he won't be given till Christmas. If he loses a lot of games, he won't be given till Christmas. I mean, the club you might be right, Archie. They might wait till it's mathematically impossible. But you can't lose 3 out of 4 and then be keeping your job. That would be mass incompetence on behalf of Manchester United's board, to be honest, if they were to do that. So Matic, Pogba and Fred, not Fellaini. I've clicked the wrong one. And Fred will make up the midfield 3, of course. And then in the front 2, what I expect him to do, I think Alexis Sanchez will definitely come in. And obviously Lukaku. So that's how I think Manchester United are going to line up. That's my predicted lineup. If you are watching live or you're not watching live, get your predicted 11 in below, because I think it could change. But I do believe that we should stick with the 3-5-2. I think Sanchez will come in. I don't think Lingard will have done enough to retain his place, although he did quite well. He was a bit wasteful in the final third, and Sanchez is the most expensive player in the Premier League at the moment, wages-wise. So I think Alexis Sanchez will play. I don't think Martial will play. I don't think that's going to happen. And I don't think Lukaku will be dropped. I mean, Lukaku maybe... Yeah. Does anybody really think Lukaku should be dropped? Can I just get a sort of a snapshot of what people think? Because, look, Lukaku's cost us a lot of points over the last 2 games by missing very, very good chances. And it's true, he'd jump out of a boat in the ocean and wouldn't hit the sea at the moment. That's the way Lukaku is playing. But I wouldn't drop him. Would you drop him? I wouldn't drop Lukaku. I mean, I still believe he's a very, very good Premier League striker. One of the best number 9s in the world, and I wouldn't drop him. I think he probably deserves to be dropped to a certain extent, but you could say the same about Paul Pogba, and I don't want to see that happening. What I would say is that how are Burnley going to line up in this game? Well, Burnley typically play a 4-2-3-1, so obviously they're going to have a back four. They'll have their sort of 2 to deal with them, the 3 here, and then their 1 up front, which is I've just realised that I can't actually add. They don't play a 4-2-3-1, do they? They play a 4-2-3. They do play a 4-2-3-1. That's right, because of 4-2-4. So, but Burnley basically are a team that are hard working. You go through their team, and all right, they've got Tolkien or Tarkovsky, whatever his name is, at the back, and they've got a hard working midfield with the likes of Pope and Cook. And they are... I don't know a lot about Burnley's players. I've abundantly exposed myself there. But I do know, like most people, the reason we don't really know much about Burnley, unless you're playing fantasy Premier League and all that, is because actually, I think Aaron Lennon plays on the right midfield for them now. They're not household names, Burnley. They stay in the Premier League because Sean Dyche is a very, very good manager at getting the best out of what he's got. It's not the biggest ground. It's not the most expensive squad, but it's a hard-working 4-2-3-1 system where they will harass. I mean, we were talking about effort last night. They will put a lot of effort in against Manchester United, but I would expect Manchester United to put a lot of effort in as well. Burnley, traditionally, doesn't matter who you are, when you go to Burnley, you don't go and win 2 or 3-0 there. You might go and win 1-0 there, 2-1, but it's normally very, very tight. They normally have a very, very good defence. So United need to play how they did against Spurs and create chances. If we go at them and we don't create many chances, then we're going to cause ourselves problems in the game. So I think that Burnley will give us a good game. But one thing I have been hearing quite a lot of recently is that the reason United don't attack much is because Mourinho doesn't trust the defence. And I suppose the Spurs performance would represent that, because you've got the game against Spurs where we attacked a lot in the first half. We didn't take our chances, and then Spurs scored 3 in the second half, which maybe it did. Well, I don't think it did. I think Spurs 3 goals, they deserved them. Yes, the defensive errors were there. They were certainly there against Brighton. We've conceded 7 goals in 3 games. That's not good enough. And defensively, we've not been good enough. But I don't agree with this. Mourinho doesn't like attacking because he doesn't trust his defence. Jose Mourinho is arguably the best defensive coach of the last 20 years. Mourinho knows how to set his team up defensively. Jose Mourinho has been at this club for 2 seasons. This is season 3. So when we are talking about, Mourinho doesn't attack because he can't trust his defence, why can't he trust his defence? Why? I mean, it's a question. Why can't he trust his defence? He's the best defensive coach in the world. He's had 2 years here. He's bought 2 centre-backs. He should be able to sort that out. So I don't agree with that excuse. I've heard people putting that excuse out there as a reason to defend Mourinho. It's not, we don't attack because he can't trust his defence because his defence is crap. But he's built that defence. He's trained that defence. So I don't agree with that at all. I think our defence. I think the only problem with our defence is a lack of confidence and trust in the setup at Manchester United at the moment. Manchester United are a dead club, says Prince Kaka 22. I only read it out because he made a contribution. Thanks 20 times, says I've just watched your FIFA Predicts video. Very, very good. Burnley will want the win more than us, says Louise O'Donoghue. Well, that is a good point, and that is something that Manchester United 100% need to stop. We need to win this game more than Burnley does. We need the 3 points. But I will say that. I mean, if that is the lineup on my left, that is the lineup on my left. But I don't agree that our defence is bad. Well, I think our defence is bad because of Mourinho. I don't think it's anything to do with him being unlucky. 2 years in, plenty of time to sort his defence out. All I see in that defence is fear and nervousness. And that is what's costing us points at the moment. There's no confidence in that back four. There's no, I'm going to run this game in our back 4 or 5. So that's where Manchester United, for me, are struggling at the moment. And that's on the manager. I don't think it's a reason to be sympathetic. Russell says, even the best coach in the world can't turn Mike Smalling into a decent defender. I'd say the same about Phil Jones. Why are they still here then? Why are they being picked in football matches? he's had lots of time to sort this out. And the reality is, I know I can hear people now saying he wasn't backed in the summer mark. He wanted a centre-back. But he's been doing this for 2 years. Picking Smalling, picking Jones. Last season, his first choice centre-backs were Bailly and Jones for the first 7 or 8 games. Why? That's Mourinho. Mourinho loves picking Phil Jones. There is no excuse about there's nobody better. We have got better. He likes picking Phil Jones. So I would say that defensively, you can't say that Mourinho's been unlucky. He picks these defenders. What has Pereira done to be dropped? He needs to be around the first team, says Manchester Skulls 18. I think that's a fantastic point. I don't expect Pereira to be involved. I don't even expect him to be on the bench. Remember last week, completely dropped from the squad, not even on the bench. Scott McTominay on the bench. This is Mourinho. Welcome to Mourinho's world. The absolute hypocrisy of it, really. I think Andreas Pereira deserves to be on the bench every game of the season, because on that US tour, he was the one player who actually represented Manchester United to the Americans and everyone else who travelled there. He was the one bright spark. And then his first opportunity, Mourinho boots him out the team. Weird. Very, very weird. What happened to Rojo, says Abubakar Sadiq. I think Rojo is a good comment. Rojo may well come into the team for this game. He may well, because he could play in that Chris Smalling position there as a left-sided centre-back, and better than Smalling could. Getty Trek says, I believe Jose is already done. His actions in the media seems like he's building up his resume to attract a new employer. Very, very interesting point there. I also just want to say as well, it is the 31st of October. I'm going to take a little bit of credit here, because the transfer window was very, very poor for Manchester United. But remember, people were saying Pogba's going to leave. 80% chance. Some people were saying that Pogba was going to leave. What did I say? Never in a million years is Paul Pogba leaving Manchester United. 31st of August today, last day of La Liga, last day of any transfer window now. And surprise, surprise, Paul Pogba will still be a Manchester United player. I said that. I said bank it, bet on it, whatever you like. Paul Pogba's not leaving Manchester United, and whoever's putting these stupid rumours out about 80% chance of him leaving, of course they'll backtrack now and say, well, there was an 80% chance, but the 20% came in. Nonsense. He was never leaving Manchester United. Manchester United were never, ever allowing Paul Pogba to stay. I think maybe he shifted, and maybe he did through his agent. He tried to get it to happen, but it was never going to happen. And the same as Martial. I thought maybe Martial would go, but I've got to say I applaud the club, and if they get him to sign a 5-year contract back of the net, that is absolutely fantastic. But this is a must-win game for Manchester United. Let's not talk about Mourinho and whether he'll be sacked or not. I believe he will. But he's got to win this. I do mean the 31st of August. Yes, I'm Jonesy. God knows what I'm saying. But we've got to win this game of football. In all seriousness, I think that we've gone through that, as I mentioned last week, we've gone through that cycle, haven't we, where we lose a game, we're embarrassed, we're angry, we're frustrated. It resonates all week, and then we get within a couple of days of the game, and you sort of forget about the loss a little bit because you're looking at the next game. And I think I'm certainly into that phase now, and I'm sure a lot of you are. But the reality is, yeah, there's hope. There's Manchester United playing in the next couple of games. Excitement. Come on, let's do it. Let's get a result. But the reality is we've got to bloody win this game. I think because of what we've done against Spurs and Brighton, I'm sure there'll be some fans, if we get a draw, say, well, it's a point. It's something to build from. It isn't. A point is a bloody disaster as well. 4 points from 12 is rubbish. 6 points from 12 isn't good enough, but 4 points from 12 is rubbish. Obviously 3 points from 12 is nightmare scenario, but we can't even afford to draw this game. Maybe Burnley away, sometimes you'd say a point's not a bad result. We've got to win this game. We can't draw it. We've got to win it. It's must win for Manchester United. And Burnley need to kickstart their season, but to be honest with you, I don't give a damn about Burnley. It's all about Manchester United. We've got to win this game, and I expect us to do it. So let's take some of your comments as well. It's got a draw written all over it, says David Campbell. I think we'll be all right. Painful to watch Mourinho clapping the fans after a 3-0 defeat at home, says Marwan. You're not the first person to say that. A few people have said it really irritated them, the way he was doing that and smugly going like the pennies dropped, like I've got them people on board. As I said this afternoon, I think those people who applauded Mourinho are fantastic, but I think Mourinho going on that the fans supported the players and him, that ground, in a United perspective, was probably about less than 10% of the United fans left. So 90% of them had gone home. Who God knows what that 90% thought. Maybe they would have bloody booed him. Who knows? But Mourinho's really focusing in on that little 10% of people who stayed behind to applaud him. And he used it a lot in the press conference. I think we'll lose to Burnley. Smooth gaming. I really don't. And you can't take any notice of me because I said there's no way we'll lose to Spurs. I can't see us losing to Brighton. But surely we can lose to Burnley. We can. Of course we can. Of course we can. Smooth gaming's right. Of course we can lose this game. And maybe some people, as I said, maybe some people are thinking, well, if we lose it, we get rid of Jose. I can't see that happening. I can't see us losing this game. What I can see is maybe a draw. And as bad as it sounds, I would rather... Well, no, I wouldn't rather lose than draw. But a draw would feel like a loss to me. And it would be massively irritating because there would be people saying, it's not bad, Mark. It's something to build on. It is bad. A draw's going to put us 8 points behind Liverpool and Spurs and Chelsea because they're all going to win this weekend. 8 points behind your big rivals after 4 games. You're basically giving them 2 points a game. That's disgraceful. So we've got to win. We've got to win. Rojo, Bay and Lindelof as a back three, says Dia. I think he will retain Herrera in the back three. I think he will. I don't see why he did it last Monday if he's not going to continue with it. Hope we lose so Mourinho gets the sack and we get Zidane, says Am3. I suspect that you might not be the only person thinking about that, even though I agree with it. If you were the board, who would you replace Jose with, says Young Lord? Look, it's a very quick answer, isn't it? You would go for Zidane because he's available and you see if you can get him. I think Mourinho lost the dressing room with him when his assistant left, says Jake Man GB123. Now, that's not been mentioned a lot, Rui Faria leaving. We know, well, it was mentioned when he left, but nobody's really mentioned it this season. How much of an impact Rui Faria leaving has had on Mourinho, his coaching, and what's going on at Manchester United. The truth is we don't know, but he has always been Mourinho's right-hand man. So, and Carrick and McKenna are very new into the role. They're very inexperienced, so it puts more pressure onto Mourinho. As I've said, I back Mourinho. I hope it works out. I really hope I'm proved wrong, but I think we're on the road to goodbye. It's just a matter of when, not if. And it might be at the end of the season. It might be Tuesday morning. It might be Christmas. But I do think it's going to happen. I don't see how it's going to come around. I mean, I'll just give you a little bit of a spoiler from the press conference video where he said that last season was a great success. It wasn't. I'm sorry, it wasn't. It's not a great success to finish second and win nothing. And it's not a great success to finish second and be 20 points behind the leader. Manchester United have to be winning titles. That's a great success. It's not a great success to be second. So I think even some of the things he's saying at the moment is not great. Mourinho's not going. Woodward said so, says David Tapgun. Again, a bit of an irrelevant comment, David, really. Not from you, but if Woodward has said that, he hasn't got the power to say Mourinho's not going. He doesn't know. If we lose 4-0 or we lose on Sunday, Woodward's going to look an idiot to keep backing a manager that's lost 3 games in 4. I think he'd have to go. If we lost on Sunday, he's got to go. 100% he's got to go. You can't lose 3 out of 4 games in the first 4 games of the Premier League in season 3. You can't be at the end of August saying we're already battling for 4th when it's Mourinho's 3rd year. We're meant to be battling for a title. So I don't take any notice of whether Woodward's thinking about getting rid of him. Vote of confidence, 100% behind him. Results define everything. And I do think we're going to win. I think we'll beat Burnley. So I'm not saying that Mourinho's going to get the sack. I just think if he did lose against Burnley, he'd have to go. And I wouldn't think many Manchester United fans would disagree with that. We aren't Everton. We're not Stoke. We're not any other mid-table team that can swallow losing 3 out of the first 4 and think, well, we can build and recover. We can't afford to do that. You can't lose 3 of your first 4 games, especially when them first 3 games aren't really tough fixtures. And I know Spurs at home was a tough fixture, but realistically, I can name you 7 tougher fixtures than that. For a start, Spurs away, Arsenal away, City away, Chelsea away, Liverpool away, City at home, and Liverpool at home. That's 7 tougher fixtures than Spurs at home, and we haven't played any of them yet. And we could potentially lose 3. Kirk and Jonah said down with the Palace, says Derek Redvan. And Woodward is a disappointment for United, but good for Glazers, says Michael James. Richest club in the world. Massive wealth coming in through the club. Jose said last pleasing was one of his biggest achievements, which is a little different to being a big success, says A. Monaco. No, he didn't, A. Monaco. If you watch his press conference back, he said that last season, I've got it here, was a great success. He said it. It came from his mouth. I don't need to make stuff out. I don't need to make stuff up, mate. He said it from his own mouth. Last season was a great success. And it wasn't. Hemraj says, that's what I love about the United stand. You keep it positive in these nightmare scenarios. Keep it up. We all love you. Well, I don't think everybody does, Hemraj, but thanks for the vote of confidence there. Maybe I'm going to get the sack. But please do drop a like on the video. Let's see if we can get 500 likes while we're live. I want to take some of your comments tonight. But no, you know what? I feel it. I wear my heart on the sleeve. And when the games are on, if you watch the watch along, it's very abundantly clear how I finish, how I feel. Look, you know, a bit of self-analysation here. That with Manchester United, when Pereira scored in the pre-season friendly against Liverpool, I went mad because I love Andreas Pereira. When Rooney broke the goal record against Stoke to equalise in stoppage time, I hardly celebrated. And I got a lot of stick for that. But, that video still floats around. But I'll always say, look, I wear my heart on the sleeve and I'm very honest. When Rooney equalised against Stoke, at that point in time, I was just annoyed that we weren't beating Stoke because at that point we needed the 3 points to be pushing for top 4. And yeah, it was a great achievement by Rooney, but I'm not Team Rooney, I'm Team Manchester United. So a late equaliser against Stoke irritated me because we should have took all 3 points. End of last season, Fellaini came on and got the winner against Arsenal. Again, I was moaning because I was like, what's the future in Manchester United chucking Fellaini on in the last few minutes of games where we've played rubbish against Arsenal reserves? You know, I have my own view on things. But what my point is that Manchester United, if they lose on Sunday, I'll be furious, angry and every other emotion that's negative around the club. But if they keep Mourinho after 3 losses in 4, that's the club's problem, isn't it? It's for us as fans to deal with it. But if Mourinho was to go, a new page starts, a new chapter starts. That's the way it is. I'm a firm believer, and I think all you are as well, that no matter what happens to Manchester United, we're all still going to be here. We're all going to love the club. I don't actually know many fans who have, when it gets really bad for their club, they walk away from it. I mean, you look at Man City, they went down to League 2 and they still had 30,000 capacity. Big clubs go down to lower leagues and their fans are sometimes galvanised by that. So we're not going to get relegated. Manchester United will never get relegated again. That just won't happen. We're too powerful. We're too rich. Liverpool won't. Man City won't. Chelsea won't. That's beyond. That cannot happen to those sort of clubs now unless they do something wrong and they get points deducted. But I've been very, very, very spoiled throughout my career as a Manchester United fan, especially the Sir Alex Ferguson years. And I always knew that maybe that wouldn't ever happen again in my life, the consistent winning of titles year in, year out. But I do believe that Manchester United, because of the size, because of what we are, we should be challenging for titles every year. And we haven't done that for 6 years. So, look, I think we're going to win on Sunday. I really do. We should get the Leeds coach. No, we shouldn't. We're going to get relegated from the Champions League, says Imran Omar. I mean, that's a good point. I was laughing at Arsenal today in the Europa League draw. I cannot stand the Europa League. And I tweeted it off my account yesterday at Mark Goldbridge. I tweeted it and I had some City fan going, oh, look at this hypocrite taking the piss out of the Europa League when you won it 2 years ago. Who was watching United stand 2 years ago when we had the Europa League going on? We hated it. We hated this bit between Christmas where you're playing pointless group games. We hated it after Christmas when it's impacting on your Premier League form and you're doing 2 legs Thursday to Sunday. The Europa League is a horrible trophy. It was brilliant to win it. It was one of the best nights we've had on the United stand when we won it. It was absolutely superb. But as a tournament, I can't bloody stand it. And I do pity Chelsea and Arsenal for being in it. But let's not joke too much. We could be back in it in February if we finish 3rd in our Champions League group. So, but I don't want to be in the Europa League. I hate it. We've won it. I don't like it. I'd rather just win it. I'd rather play the kids and make sure we get top 4. It's a really bad tournament. I don't like it. Europa League was torture, short rest, horrible travelling, the worst, says Manchester Skulls 18. Exactly. Lukaku and Sanchez need to be in top form. 60 goals between them, says Niaz 871. I agree. Sir Alex did not challenge for the title every year of his 26 years, says Parney. Mate, he pretty much did. All right, at the start of his career he didn't, but he pretty much did every other year. I think there was 1 or 2 where he didn't, but it was pretty much every year. And I don't know what your angle is with that. What are you trying to say? Jose Mourinho's been here 3 years. He's not going to challenge for the title in any of them. We're not challenging for the title this year. We're not. I will be stunned if we challenge for the title this year. We're already going for top 4 and hopefully a cup. What's wrong with the Leeds coach, says Donny Anassa. Somebody tell him. Thanks for the contribution, mate. Yeah, dirty Leeds. Manchester United, don't want anything to do with them. Leeds is a big rivalry with Manchester United. Goes back to the 70s, I believe, and maybe even further than that because of the old... somebody in the live comments will know the locality thing, isn't it? Is it something to do with cricket, roses and stuff like that? I have a feeling that not the chocolate ones, I have a feeling that Manchester United will go very far in Champions League, Mark, says Dia. Good. Mickey was a beast in the Europa League. He was. You're right, Manchester United. What about my super chat? Damn, says Richard B. Sorry, mate. Have we missed the super chat for you? I will find it for you now. Looking smart, Mark, says Ty80. Yes, I am. If I say so myself. I'm just going to get this super chat that we've missed. I normally catch them all on sometimes on the matches it's hard to get, but so I normally do catch them. But no, I mean, what are people thinking? I'm very confident that we're going to win on Sunday. The draw is the one I really fear. I mean, obviously, I fear the loss as well. Would you play Masic as centre-back and Pereira as CDM, says Rishab Sinha? Well, no, I wouldn't, because Herrera has more mobility than Matic, but Matic doesn't look very fit at the moment, to be honest with you. So no, I wouldn't do that. I don't think he's going to use Pereira anymore. I think that was a little bit of a fan pleaser to use Pereira for a little bit. I don't think we're going to see Pereira much at all now. I hope I'm wrong on that, but Jose seems to have discarded him very, very quickly, and I don't think we'll see much of him again, to be honest. Europa League games potentially, but apart from that, no, don't really think so. We've had another super chat. It's from Abhinav Shori. He says, I think we should be positive about the situation. The new style shows that Mourinho is willing to change. We just need to fix our defence. That is a cracking point, because we are all assuming that we're going to see the same style as the first half against Spurs. And remember, it was only 45 minutes. In the second half, we really fell off. So will we see the same first half performance against Spurs where I mean, the big difference is people sometimes think, well, how will we know? How will we know? It might just be one of those games. We'll know. Yeah, we might, we will know, because in that first 45 minutes against Spurs, we pressed the ball and we moved it quickly, which is something many of us have been pleading for months and months. So we will know very quickly against Burnley if we're going to press. We'll know very, very quickly if we're going to move the ball quick. United, statistically, don't create chances very much and are quite a lazy team. Against Spurs in that first half, we were the complete opposite. So we'll know very, very quickly against Burnley if we're going to do that. And hopefully we will see it, because I think the one thing I do agree with the players and the manager is, if we play like we did against Spurs in the first half, we will score more goals and we will win more games. Whether the way we played against Spurs in the first half is something that's going to give Liverpool, Man City nightmares, I don't think it will, because this is new to us and it's going to take time for us to get used to it. But it's a step in the right direction, I agree. Peter Boothroyd says, why is the Europa League a bad tournament? I just hate it, Peter. I think Thursday, Sunday, it knackers your players up. You can't really do well in the Premier League. You've got to gamble on the Europa League. I just don't like the tournament or the format. I didn't like it when we were in it. I was very, very pleased that we won it because it got us in the Champions League. But I just don't like the tournament. I never have liked the Europa League. Obviously, I'd watch United if we were in it. Alex Haymar says, donate £1,000 to charity if United lose on the weekend. Well, why should I do that? I mean, if I was a millionaire, I'd do it. But why should I do that? Pogba should do it. Mourinho should do it. Let's be honest. I've always said this. On Sunday afternoon at 4 o'clock, our emotions are in the hands of 11 multimillionaires. That's what footballers are, aren't they? We are normal people. Millions of us just supporting the club that we love. And our fate is in the hands of 11 multimillionaires who, if they lose or win, they still go home to their mansion and their next day off for a couple of days and their brilliant car and everything like that. I always think football's funny when you think of it like that. Your emotions over a weekend or a midweek game are always in the hands of 11 multimillionaires. And when you think that, you almost think, oh, are they really putting the effort in? I hate it so much. I hope we are in the top 4. Stephen King, can't stand the Europa League. Yep. De Gea, Shaw, Lindelof, Bay, Valencia, Fred, Matic, Sanchez, Lingard, Rashford, says Stuart Ward. And Shiras Kumath Fitness says, we need to get over the first half versus Spurs. They knew we would show a reaction after Brighton. It didn't take much time for them to break through, did it? But Mark, I have to say, this channel is unique. Thank you very much. And also, I think what a lot of people don't want to remember about that first half against Spurs is that they did have a penalty. Phil Jones did commit a penalty foul. It would have been, you know, it was borderline, the ref didn't give it. But to me, I think actually looking back on it, it was a penalty. And Spurs, Dele Alli got through one-on-one and messed it up. Spurs had probably not as many chances as us, but they'd certainly had chances. And who knows, even if we'd got the goal that Lukaku should have scored and we'd have gone in 1-0 or 2-0, who's to say we wouldn't have blown it in the second half anyway? So it was a positive step, and I've not been so excited about United for a long, long time. But we've got to build on that. We've got to learn to be a two-half team. That's something we never are. And we've also got to see that style of football again. So I think there's a lot of goodwill around United. There's certainly a lot of fans hoping, like me, that it's going to go well. But we're all, you know, it's only tentative first steps. Martial should start, says Ruand. Well, I'd start Martial, but I can't see it. I can't see it happening. If you want to donate, Isaac, it's through the $sign at the bottom of the live comments. If it's not there, it means it's not available in your country. Get Thierry on me at Ria's manager, says Hal Dillon. I'd rather have Fellaini as manager, to be honest. His fault for loaning out Fosu Mensah, Matt Hodges. What's wrong with De Gea? He has conceded 10 goals from 14 shots. Spain and Manchester United, says Riza Munna. For me, that is a prime example of why stats mean nothing. Statistics mean sod all. They really do. I think the only statistics I really sort of take any notice of, and they're not really statistics, it's heat maps. I like to look at the heat maps and see where a player's average position is and whether it's getting in a play, because it can expose problems. I think Pogba and Sanchez heat maps, if they're on the left-hand side, expose a big problem that they both get in the same area that they want to be in. But De Gea's let 10 goals in from 14 shots. Well, he couldn't have done anything about the 3 goals last week. Look, Manchester United and Spain don't concede many shots. If they're good shots, they score, don't they? He made 2 world-class saves against Leicester. De Gea is a world-class goalkeeper. I don't think anything's gone wrong with De Gea at all. I really don't. His distribution out the back hasn't been great. I agree with Czech Nadro. Jose should be sacked, says Anthony Kilby. You might get your wish. I'm not confident we're going to beat Burnley, says the Black Dude. And Jose out, says Marcus Weathereld. Well, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with it. If Jose's head gets any bigger, we won't get into Old Trafford, says Sion Williams. Look, all this talk in the live comments about Jose's arrogance. If you didn't see the Jose Mourinho press conference reaction I did a few hours ago, it's probably worth going and having a watch. It's not a particularly long video, and we just summarise everything Mourinho's spoken about, and there was some very interesting comments in there. So maybe pop and give that a watch. I'm going to get off now because I've covered the preview show, everything I wanted to do. Remember, tomorrow night it's Saturday Night Live Q&A, so it's a massive sort of interaction with you brilliant people in the live comments. Thanks everybody for watching. Please do watch a lot. Please do drop a like on the video on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And a couple of things you can go and watch. Jose Mourinho's press conference reaction, which I did this afternoon. Or if you fancy a bit of FIFA, Goldbridge live stream channel. Manchester United versus Burnley. FIFA predicts. It was a good one. Did it about an hour ago. It's a good one. So a couple of things you can go and watch there. I'll be back at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. Do join me for that, and thanks for watching everybody. I'll see you all soon.